Hello and welcome back to the PMP Videocast. My name is Brian, and today we're going to be challenging the idea that physical media is dead. We will be focusing mostly on video, though I do want to talk a bit about the resurgence of analog media, which will include cassettes and vinyl, mediums generally associated with audio. We're going to be covering some of the companies that have not only kept physical media alive, but have allowed certain content to thrive. We are also going to be looking at the history of home video. Very excited for this. Before we get into it, this and every video on this channel and our other channel was made possible thanks to our patrons over at patreon.com/pixandportraits. A new feature film is available over there now, covering Syd Mead's early features in film. $5 a month gets you access to that and dozens of other videos and helps keep all of this going, all of this alive. Patreon.com/pixandportraits. Now, I'd like to begin by rewinding all the way back to the birth of video, the 1950s. Video absolutely changed the way we consume media. People, of course, had film libraries before, home media collections on reels, but they were not common. It was something mostly for the wealthy. TV was broadcast once, certain shows would be reran, but if it wasn't picked up for syndication or if you weren't home, you couldn't watch it. Movies would only be in theaters for a short time. They, of course, would get re-released. Smaller second-run theaters existed, but if you lived in a small town and didn't have one, or you missed a movie, tough luck. Hopefully it plays on TV, and hopefully you were home to catch it. Videotape was not immediately embraced by consumers, but it was by broadcasters, thanks to its durability and relative affordability. The Sony U-matic, which Sony intended to market to customers, was used extensively in television production. In 1972, we begin seeing home media formats marketed towards consumers with Philips' VCR system, as well as Cartravision. Cartravision very much feels like the beginning of home video. Customers could buy pre-recorded tapes featuring educational programming, as well as licensed films. Through a catalog, you could buy or rent them. Rental would become a massive part of the home video industry, which we will get to in a minute. Cartravision tapes were also recordable and could hold up to 114 minutes worth of footage. Cartravision was an important early step, but it didn't take off due to its high price. It suffered poor sales and barely lasted a year. In the mid-1970s, Sony attempted to introduce a standardized format for home video, the Betamax. This improved upon their U-matic format, being more affordable and easier to use. Sony would be challenged by JVC and their format, the Video Home System, or VHS, and so began the format war, which lasted well into the 80s. Though Beta offered a better viewing experience, VHS won out thanks to its longer recording time. Initially, it could record 2 hours to Beta's 1 hour. Longer Beta tapes would eventually be released, but the format couldn't recover, and VHS became the industry standard. That is basically an overview of early home video formats. Now that the technology had been developed, how exactly could studios get their films into people's homes? Well, in 1968, Andre Blais founded Magnetic Video, a video duplication service in Farmington Hills, Michigan. In 1977, Blais approached 20th Century Fox about licensing 50 of their films for consumer release for both VHS and Beta. Just like Cartravision, consumers would be able to purchase tapes through mail by joining Blais' Video Club of America. With tapes costing upwards of $100 each and recorder players, VCRs, over $1,000, not adjusted for inflation, it was still very expensive. Shortly after Magnetic Video began releasing films for home use, entrepreneur George Atkinson purchased a copy of each on both formats with the intent of lending or renting them to customers. Atkinson charged $50 for an annual membership and $100 for a lifetime. One still had to pay $10 per tape per day though. Still, the service was very well received, and he would go on to open the Video Station, the first video rental store in Los Angeles. Given the convenience and affordability of renting tapes, this formula, or industry, took off. Hundreds of independent video stores began opening. Seeing the revenue potential in releasing their films commercially, studios would eventually embrace home video. Several national and international chains emerged, the largest or most popular being Blockbuster Video. The customers who wanted to own their films could buy through catalogs. Several mail order services offered the ability to buy tapes. Retailers began carrying them. New retailers emerged, specializing in home video. The industry exploded. Home video also allowed for more niche content to reach a larger audience, and it's here where the idea of a boutique label really began. There are a few companies from this time I'd like to look at, starting with Vestron Video, one of the most popular early video distributors. They have an iconic logo. Anyone who was into horror movies in the 80s and 90s should recognize it. Vestron released a lot of B-movies, schlocky horror, titles from Studio Cannon Films, which is synonymous with low budget. Some of these films did receive a theatrical release, but many truly reached their audience on home video through VHS. Unlike films released in theaters, home video releases were not subject to rating policies, and so content on video could really push boundaries, meaning more sex, more violence. Before the internet, one of the few places you could see this sort of content, especially if you lived outside of a major city, was on video. Vestron had a lot of subsidiaries, the partner labels of the time, like Lightning Video, which catered more towards genre film, more often than not horror, even lower budget horror than Vestron was offering. Vestron was also a movie studio from 1986 to 1990, probably best known for producing Dirty Dancing, which is very different than the sort of content they're remembered for. Despite this success, in late 1990, Vestron filed for bankruptcy. A ton of money was being spent, not only on their productions, but acquiring rights. When home video was more niche, the rights were cheaper, but by the early 90s, home video was becoming more popular, and studios saw that they could ask for more money for home video rights, or just release their films themselves. Wizard Video, founded in the early 80s by producer-director Charles Band, was another niche distributor. Early home video relied heavily on posters and cover illustrations to market their movies to viewers, browsing video store aisles. Wizard created some very provocative cover art for the films they distributed. Wizard's releases also stood out because they came in oversized boxes, which are extremely collectible, like slips are today. In 2013, it was reported a large quantity of these unused Wizard boxes had been discovered. Given many didn't survive the decades, they're rare and in demand, and Wizard began selling these newly unearthed ones to fans. However, there were allegations that these boxes were not authentic, like the company claimed, but instead recently printed reproductions. As we mentioned in our Sid Mead and anime video, during the late 1980s, anime really broke through to Western audiences. Streamline Pictures, founded in 1988 by producer Carl Macek, and animation historians Fred Patton and Jerry Beck, deserves credit for really bringing anime into American consciousness. Golgo 13, Fist of the North Star, Wicked City, Akira, Miyazaki movies, these were all licensed, localized, and dubbed by Streamline. Today, anime is nearly a $30 billion a year industry, and its Western popularity began with Streamline. Each of these companies was able to gain a foothold due to the fact that they were offering a niche product and appealing to a very specific audience. Now, VHS allowed people to bring movies into their home, but the format was not without its faults and limitations. Each tape could only hold so much information and still present an acceptable image. Recording at different speeds allowed for more information to be stored, more content, but the longer the playtime, the poorer the quality of the image, so some longer movies had to be split into 2 tapes to maintain the best possible picture. It also was a physical piece of tape that degraded with use, so if you liked a movie and watched it a lot, you risked wearing it out. There were some exceptions, but many movies were modified for home viewing on a 4:3 television, not in their original 16:9 aspect ratio, so you also weren't getting the full picture. In 1995, a new media format, the DVD, Digital Versatile Disc, was introduced. A DVD was the same physical size as a CD, but could store a lot more information, which is one of the reasons the format was adopted as VHS's replacement for home video. Like with VHS, DVD was not the first disc-based video format. CD video, video CD, Laserdisc all came before it. Laserdisc actually had a lot in common with DVD in terms of presentation. The format was embraced by cinephiles in the 80s and 90s as the superior way to watch and appreciate movies. Arguably the best-known boutique label, the Criterion Collection, got its start releasing Laserdiscs in 1984. The company was founded by Joseph Medjuk and Aileen and Robert Stein and introduced many ideas that became standard, like letterboxing. Criterion focused on important films from around the world and as they were appealing to a specific audience, presenting these films in their original aspect ratios was important, and so they added black bars to the top and bottom of the image so it could be seen on TV sets of the time. Rather than simply release whatever prints of the films were available, Criterion restored films to present them in the best possible quality, given the technology available to them. They also included special or supplementary features related to the movies, like documentaries, commentaries, restoration information, which gave context and helped viewers appreciate the movie even more. These features would all become the norm in DVDs. DVDs were offered in both cropped, full screen, and letterbox widescreen editions. Tons of great sets came out that treated movies with reverence, multi-disc sets that came with essays and other material. All that started with Criterion, who grew significantly during the DVD era. Obviously, technology keeps changing and advancing. DVD gave way to Blu-ray, but during the 2000s, as a society, we were going through a major change, and that is the move to online. Starting in the late 90s, Napster and similar peer-to-peer networks allowed users to share and download media between computers. Video could be ripped from DVDs or other sources, and people could access it for free, illegally. This was eventually replaced by BitTorrent, which functioned similarly, but allowed for larger files to be shared. You could download DVD-quality versions of films, entire runs of TV shows, basically any video from torrent sites, and the way media was valued changed. This time was also the rise of streaming, which allowed viewers to watch films online through paid services like Netflix, which began as a DVD rental service you accessed online and titles would be mailed to your address. Streaming took this a step further. You no longer had to go to the store to rent a movie, it was beamed directly into your home. There was also the trend of minimalism, cutting down on home clutter, and many people, figuring Netflix would always exist and that they would always have their favorite TV shows or movies, purged their physical media collections. The decline of physical media coincided with the decline of retail, something else that gets pinned on the internet, online shopping. Stores that catered to physical media shuttered, physical renting virtually disappeared, movie sections shrunk, and recently, established retailers have announced they will no longer be carrying DVDs or Blu-ray. But that doesn't mean physical media is dead. While the days of walking into a Walmart or Suncoast HMV and seeing walls of movies may feel like a thing of the past, in many ways, physical home video is thriving, thanks to smaller boutique distribution labels pivoting towards a more niche audience. Not everybody is interested in physically owning media, and so these companies can offer content that doesn't have to appeal to a mass audience, something that actually plays into their favor. A perfect example is Vinegar Syndrome, which was actually founded after many moved on to streaming. In 2012, Joe Rubin and Ryan Emerson created the label dedicated to preserving adult films that were all but forgotten. They managed to develop a following by focusing on movies they believed held value, that there was an audience for, and presented them as important as Criterion did for world cinema. Eventually, they moved on to other genres that appealed to the same or similar audiences, but maintained that philosophy, producing sets with high production values. They now even have their own physical stores in some cities, where they sell the films they distribute, as well as stuff from other labels, boutique labels like Arrow. Arrow was founded in the UK in the 90s, but its video label was created in 2009 with a focus on cult and horror film. Maybe you're seeing a pattern here. Same with Show Factory and its sub-label Scream Factory, releasing films that weren't getting released by studios that produced them. Films with a passionate fan base who love and appreciate movies to the point where they want to own them. Physical media is ownership. Yes, technology fails, discs rot, tapes wear out or break, but if you take care of your things, you're probably going to be fine. It's unlikely to stop working with regular use, but license agreements expire all the time. Content can be pulled, so something you want to watch might not be available anywhere except maybe the high seas. The last aspect I want to look at is the resurgence of older media formats as a creative choice. Different formats have aesthetics associated with them that can trigger certain reactions. There are associated aesthetics that can be used to set off memory triggers and evoke a nostalgic response. Something can feel older or warmer simply through existing. Arguably, this association can produce a purer response than something we've kept with us for years and remember fondly, unlocking related or adjacent memories in the process. In terms of modern physical media, it can be used creatively. Looking at music, releasing an album on cassette is cheap, and there is a novelty to it in terms of how it sounds versus digital, those lo-fi vibes. Vinyl is another example that has been widely embraced. New record stores have opened, and people are paying for music again. Same with VHS for the aesthetic. You can't reproduce this. Analog media is alive, it has faults that can add to its charm. Tapes degrade in a very noticeable way that can add to the viewing experience. While not the clearest or cleanest, there is certain content that is elevated when viewing on VHS, like horror movies. And this isn't to say that streaming is awful. Many of the labels we talked about have their own streaming services. I don't see a problem with it. I think it's a great way to be exposed to movies you normally wouldn't see. It's convenient, certainly accessible, but I don't think it should be the only option. We have quickly moved towards a subscription-based model where we pay monthly for content that can be removed or taken away at any time. We don't own anything, and for some people, that's fine. Modern renting, obviously casual interest has severely declined, but to act like physical media is dead is not only hyperbolic, but it discounts or minimizes the amazing work being done by the talented people keeping content that otherwise would be forgotten alive. Anyway, let me know what you think. This was not meant to be exhaustive, and I'm sure there is plenty I missed, so feel free to comment or correct down below. Check out our other videos, check out our other channel. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe to this one, give us a thumbs up, share, and if you have the means, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Links in description. As always, thank you so much for your interest in what we do, and thanks for watching. See you in the future.